Well, hello there, dear viewer. In today's video, we will be taking a look at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of 1974. Was the Leatherface truly a monster, or were his actions justifiable in the eyes of Texas law? To answer this question, we need to examine the Castle Doctrine, which was enacted in 1995 and further expanded upon in 2007 as a Stand Your Ground law. This Texas Doctrine is referenced in numerous Texas-based law firms, such as the Luster Law Firm, as well as the Neil Davis Law Firm. For the Sawyer family case, I will be referencing Chapter 9 of the Doctrine. So let's get started. The first event we will be analyzing is when Kirk and Pam first approached the Sawyer residence. Kirk politely knocked on the front door, while Pam waited on the steps. After Pam left, Kirk knocked a bit harder on the front door, which caused it to swing open. But since this was not his intention, it would not be classifiable as breaking in. He then calls out to make his presence known, and to show he means no harm. He also waits in the doorframe until someone comes out. But when he hears an unusual squealing, he finally enters to investigate. But 4 seconds later, Leatherface comes out and crushes his skull with a sledgehammer. Now, there's a few things wrong with this. While yes, Kirk would be classified as an intruder, it's actually a bit more complicated than that. According to the Castle Doctrine, Chapter 9, Subchapter D, Section 9.41, a person in lawful possession of land or tangible movable property is justified in using force against another when and to the degree the actor reasonably believes the force is immediately necessary to prevent or terminate the other's trespass on the land or unlawful interference with the property. However, Kirk never actually entered the house until Leatherface started screaming almost a full minute later. And when Kirk first showed up, he made his presence known as he waited patiently outside, and at no point was he ever a threat. And according to Subchapter C, Section 9.31, a person is justified in using force against another when and to the degree the actor reasonably believes the force is immediately necessary to protect the actor against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force. The actor's belief that the force was immediately necessary, as described by the subsection, is presumed to be reasonable if the actor 1. Knew or had reason to believe that the person against whom the force was used a. Unlawfully and with force entered or was attempting to enter unlawfully and with force the actor's occupied habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment. C. Was committing or attempting to commit aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery. But Kirk did not use any sort of force to get inside, nor was he trying to commit any sort of crime. And Leatherface had no reason to believe that Kirk was doing or trying to do any of these things. Therefore, Leatherface would be considered as the aggressor here. If Kirk had lived, then he could have legally sued the Sawyer family under Section 83.001 of the Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code. Soon after, Pam approached the house while calling out Kirk's name. After pausing at the door for a few seconds, she walked inside. Pam then turned left into the dining room while continuing to call out Kirk's name. And when she hears a noise, she follows it into the lounge, but then trips upon entering. But after discovering the horrors that lie behind the curtain, Pam tried to escape, until Leatherface pulls her back inside and hung her on a meat hook. And while yes, Pam did go further into the property than Kirk did, this is a very different situation now. According to Section 9.32, subsection B3, the actor's belief under subsection A2 that the deadly force was immediately necessary as described by that subdivision is presumed to be reasonable if the actor, who was not otherwise engaged in criminal activity other than a Class C misdemeanor, that is, a violation of a law or ordinance regulating traffic at the time the force was used. To summarize, Leatherface can only cause harm to Pam if he was not already engaged in illegal activities. But since using dead people as decorations is a crime in every sense of the word, he is no longer protected by the Castle Doctrine, and would therefore be charged with kidnapping, assault, and first-degree murder. And the Sawyer house is full of evidence to support these claims. In conclusion, Leatherface might have been able to make a self-defense claim, but the overwhelming evidence of criminal activity would cancel out any chance he had at making a self-defense case. There are other incidents that happened on that night, but any justification Leatherface once had went straight out the window as soon as the human remains were discovered. So even if later events could be justified as self-defense, Leatherface would still face the same charges because of the human remains in his house. He could plead insanity, but I'm not too sure how much that would help. As for his actions in later years, those are topics for other videos. So if you liked this analysis of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of 1973, feel free to press that like button. And if you are interested in hearing about what I have to say about other films, like if Freddy Krueger is actually a good guy, or if Saw is actually a Christian film, then feel free to subscribe, because I am going to be talking about stuff like this every week. So until then, my name is John Mortum, and you have been watching Disturbed Kiwi.